Good afternoon, YouTube. I just wanted to open on this. So for the past, let's say, half an hour to 45 minutes, I've been watching our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau apologize in front of the media for being caught yet again with more evidence of Blackface and Brownface. So I released a video yesterday that said there was only 3 instances, and now we know that there's at least 3, not only 3. So here is our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau talking in front of the press as usual, trying to appear as penitent as he can. So let's start off by saying that one of the first questions that the press asked a reporter from the CBC was, yesterday Trudeau was confronted on, I believe, his airplane, while campaigning. And so the reporter asked specifically, how many instances of blackface do you recall? And he said, well, this instance and one other when I dressed up in high school and sang Deo. And that's, looking back, like in hindsight, he had sort of a smirk on his face when that question was asked. Like he squinted his eyes a little bit, and I think that's his tell when he's lying, because like it's almost as though he was trying to, think of the appropriate answer as the question was coming out that could be a non-committal answer. But at the same time not be too dodgy that he still answered the question. So he did, and he didn't say that those were the only incidences, but he answered the question with what he recalled at that moment, which was the Deo incident where he was on stage on a talent show. So here he is. And then I believe it was the same reporter from the CBC that asked him, so you told us on the plane yesterday that there were no more instances, and then so now we find out today that there's another one. So to your knowledge or to your recollection, like, are there any more? And so essentially he dodged the question today, and he apologized vigorously and kept misdirecting the narrative, the conversation, and essentially didn't answer. So, and then he said that he forgot. So he again apologized and so on. And I'm sick and tired of these disingenuous apologies that he keeps giving to Canadians. He is not sorry. If he was really sorry, he'd pay a price for the mistake, and that price should be him resigning. I really believe that this Prime Minister, it's not so much his failure as it is Andrew Scheer, and I think I'm going to make another video about that, because, this Prime Minister, in my opinion, has had the most criminal activity of any in living memory. You look at him, there are more scandals just surrounding him than any other political figure, to my knowledge, except for his father. And I can go on about that, but that might be a different video. But to those of you that know, Pierre Elliott Trudeau is the father of the Canadian debt, and I would challenge anybody on that fact. After Pierre Trudeau took the Prime Ministership, the Canadian debt and deficit saw massive increases. Not a little bit, tremendous, massive increases, and we're still paying that debt today. It still exists. That started with Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So when I was in high school and in elementary and junior high, I found it odd that we in class had to worship nearly this Pierre Elliott Trudeau for his multiculturalism policies and so on. And nobody in school talked about the amount of debt that his father amassed. So that aside, his son is chip off the old block. I say that he is very much not too concerned about blackface. He was trying to say that he himself, oh, I didn't know at the time that that kind of behavior is offensive. That's a pretty slippery slope. You claim to be the champion for anti-discrimination, anti-racism. You better have a record that's clean, buddy. Like, this is not acceptable behavior at all for somebody who champions those ideals. And it just proves once again the hypocrisy that he is demonstrating in every single action. His mouth says one thing, his action says another. He is not worthy to be a Prime Minister of Canada and represent those idealism. So I urge any Canadians who are watching this, keep your eyes open. I hope that this scandal doesn't get swept under the rug like all the rest. He's managed to weather the SNC-Lavalin scandal a lot better than I expected, and a lot better than what most people expected. It's like, do you trust this man? I highly recommend that you take a look at his track record and then ask yourself the question, do you trust him? And if you ask me, my answer is absolutely not. He is absolutely lying in almost every single confrontation that you see him in. Like, take the Jody Wilson-Raybould scandal. Like, he said he didn't put pressure, and then when the evidence came out, he apologized. Oh, that's not pressure. I was just trying to keep jobs. Like, you have an excuse for every single bad decisions that you've made, and like, he never takes responsibility for it. And the punishment should be that he's not going to be the Prime Minister anymore, nor the leader of the Liberal Party. He's damaging the Liberal brand. It's when I hear Canadians talk about the Trudeau brand as honest, I can't even believe that's what they think. It's terrible. So, in summary, I would just like to say, my fellow Canadians, if you're watching this, please take into account these. Jody Wilson-Raybould is a great Canadian, and she held the office of the Attorney General, and she blatantly, between the lines, claims that she was pressured and so on by him and his staff. So that's two birds with one stone. One, he doesn't respect her as a woman. And two, he doesn't have any respect for the rule of law, because obviously that pressure is undue influence and possibly obstruction of justice. We don't know yet, but there may be enough evidence once the RCMP has finished gathering all their evidence. And in addition, she is the first Indigenous woman who has taken the Attorney General's office. So, like, all the more reason to keep her in cabinet at the very least. Why did he kick her out of cabinet? And now this Blackface, Brownface, whatever it depends on the situation, the image in particular. Like, you can't just apologize for something like that and hope it will go away. The people whom you represent, minority groups and so on, and anybody that's affected by this racially charged nonsense, it is deeply offensive. Speaking for myself only, it is very deeply offensive, especially for a Prime Minister that claims to be very righteous and forthright in his moral authority. So I would say that's all nonsense. He has proven time and again that he's incapable of telling the truth, and that he is definitely not a responsible person. I thank you for your time and attention. I hope that you're watching this case as closely as I am, and I will try to continue to do. And I thank you for your support, and please comment anything that's on your mind. I would love to to correspond with anyone, anywhere. So thank you again for your time. Goodbye.